Welcome to the Project Zion podcast. This podcast explores the unique spiritual and theological gifts Community of Christ offers for today's world.
Welcome to Coffee in the Swarm, a Project Zion podcast production coming to you from Lillenas, Iowa, campus of Graceland University. The Swarm is our on-campus restaurant in the Newcomb Student Union. This year, our podcast is being co-hosted by student chaplain Julie Wheaton, but unfortunately, she's not available to be with us today. This is Mike Hoffman, campus minister, and this is where we interview students at Graceland who are connected in some way, shape, or form to the community of Christ. Today's guest is Jocelyn Dailey. We were just discussing before we came on the podcast that she was actually in my critical thinking class when she was a first-year student. That makes her a junior, in case you're wondering. So, Jocelyn, welcome. And tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm majoring in interdisciplinary studies. Yeah, my three focuses are English, art, and social sciences.
Cool. So social science general, or is there a specific social science?
Specifically psychology, I guess.
Psychology.
I took one sociology class,
okay.
So I guess that makes
Which counts in interdisciplinary. What do you want to do with that? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I took one elementary ed class and it was children's literature. And I just found that super interesting. And I thought that would be a fun way to combine almost all three areas, illustrating and writing children's literature. Because I really enjoyed that course and being in there with people that are going to be like future teachers. And yeah. So maybe we'll see where that goes.
Right. That's cool. Where are you from?
Ontario, Canada, specifically Campbellville. It's a very small town, forested area.
When you say small town, like smaller, as small as Lillenas? Or bigger than Lillenas? Lillenas has about 1,200 residents if you don't count Graceland students. You know?
I'm not even sure of the population.
Does it have a stoplight?
It does. It has one.
Okay.
It's got one.
I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up not far from here.
Mm-hmm.
So all right. What was it like for you in the church in that area where you were when you grew up?
It was really interesting. We didn't have as many young kids, I think, like growing up, and especially not as active in the church, I think. I was definitely one of the main people that, my mom ran a lot of the stuff. And so I don't want to use the word guilted, but I got pulled into a lot of things, which is okay.
Because your mom was doing it. So,
at the time it was nerve-wracking to get up and sing in front of everybody. I was always nervous to do that, but looking back on it, I think it helped a lot with public speaking and being comfortable in a group. It was also like, she always told me, she's like, all these people like love you and are there to support you. Like, it's not meant to be nerve-wracking, like, and they just enjoy having you like be a part of the service. I was very active in that way. Yeah, I really liked it.
Did you go to camps when you were growing up?
I did, yeah.
Where did you go to camp?
There was Minettville, which was one campground, and Zion, Ontario was the other one. Okay. Yeah, so I did go to kids camp, and then junior high, senior high, and then I actually went to spec.
Okay. All right. A lot of camping experiences anyway. So with that kind of connection to the church and everything, what brought you specifically to Graceland? Was it the church connection? You know, there's lots of colleges and universities to choose from. So was there something in particular?
Both my parents did grow up in the church, different congregations, but they went to all the same camps and they both went to spec as well. And then going to spec, they just saw how amazing Graceland was. And my dad's parents were connected with Graceland as well. And so...
Did your parents go to Graceland?
They did. Yeah. They spoke very highly of it. Sure. And so obviously that's why I went to spec. They're like, you have to go, even though I was like a little nervous about it because we're going to another country for camp. But I went with all my friends. So that made it okay.
Were you able to go to spec all 3 years or?
Yeah, because my last year that I would have gone was when COVID hit before that summer.
So you couldn't go that year?
No, which was a real heartbreaker. I was looking.
Yeah, because that would have been right before you started Graceland?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of things have changed, but that's a whole other topic. Well, that's cool. You had a connection. Your parents went here and that kind of thing. So how would you describe your Graceland experience so far? I know that you were a house president, so what's that been like?
Very interesting. I think this has been my favorite year here, which is,
Really?
yeah, because you'd think that being a house president would bring a lot of stress, which it has, but
A lot of stress. Yeah.
yeah, but not enough that I haven't completely loved it.
Okay. Well, that is good. That is one of the things I thought about was like
Mhm.
what it's like to be a house president. It's your favorite year so far.
Yeah.
So.
I found a lot of comfort in all the other house presidents. I wasn't friends with all of them, but
Yeah.
then during our training, it was like spending a whole month together. Like it almost felt like camp because we were here
Sure.
on campus together and
Okay.
doing fun activities. So they have
So
definitely been
that
a great.
training
Yeah.
really was important then. So, and camaraderie, I mean, support actually, probably from your other house presidents. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What house are you in?
Shalom.
Shalom.
Mhm.
And so who have been your sibling houses, like fall and now spring?
Like this year, or
Yeah, this year is what I was thinking of.
we had Agape first, and then right
Agape.
now we have Orion.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, big difference between the houses, but I've definitely enjoyed having both of them.
Okay.
Mhm.
You know, it's interesting to me to watch the changes between the years because,
Yeah.
you know, a house will take on a certain personality. I don't know if it's really the house president, but so maybe it is a little bit, but it takes on a certain characteristic. And then
Mhm.
different year, the house president changes and then it can be very different. So, do you know what your plans are for next year after this?
So I was elected the CHPP, so
You were.
yeah.
So, okay. I guess I should have tracked that. Okay. So
That's okay.
you're going to be president of the Council of House Presidents.
Mhm.
Okay. Excellent.
I'm very excited.
Okay. That's really good. I mean, that's really quite an honor too,
Mhm.
because you are elected by House presidents. And for those of you listening that might not be familiar, Graceland has this really incredible, unique housing system. So this year's House presidents would have elected you for next year, right?
Yes.
So that's the only Graceland student government body officer that's not elected by just
The
an
student
open-
body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
very cool.
So that was super interesting. And it does feel like an honor for sure, because those are my friends and colleagues, and they have seen me the most, especially in that role. That position, the way I look at it is like you are representing house presidents, and you're almost like the house president for the house presidents, because obviously they don't have one. So you're that person for them to go to,
Yeah.
and to have all my best friends think that I would be suited for that. Like, it's really
But
awesome.
all your best friends now are probably not coming back as House presidents. So
Yeah.
you'll be overseeing all new candidates for House presidents. Not that you wouldn't know some of them.
Yeah.
But I hope that wasn't scary.
No.
That's cool. Very good. And as an advisor to the Council of House Chaplains, I'll be then meeting with you every week. So very
Yeah.
cool. That's great. So you shared with us a little bit about you're an interdisciplinary major, which means you sort of create your own program
Yeah.
here. So do you have plans after you graduate, which would be after next year, right? So
Yeah.
what do you want to do? Find a job, go to graduate school?
I've thought about grad school, but thinking about whether I would go for like English or art, like all of my art professors, they just talked about how the critiques are really hard and it's very difficult just like mentally to go through it.
No.
I don't know. There's benefits to it because I could definitely see myself being a teacher someday, and maybe I should have started as an education major. I don't know. People had always told me they could see me as a teacher, but I was always that person who was like, I'm never going to be a teacher. But I can see myself
Now
one
you
day.
can see that. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know, that's interesting. When I was in school, I never really thought at all about being, I mean, I didn't even reject it. I just didn't think about it.
Mhm.
And then for years, I worked in youth ministry. So I'm glad you're thinking of that anyway.
Yeah.
So but that's a lot of things to consider too. Do you think you'll go back to Ontario? Or
I
will
think
you?
so.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think if I decide to one day do teaching, like I have to go like teachers college or something like that. But as of right now, I'm not sure about grad school. I think I would definitely take a year off. I'm definitely not going to go right to school after I
Take
graduate.
a year off. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There's lots of things going on in the community of Christ right now. Do you have any particular hopes or thoughts about the future of Community of Christ?
Looking more at like what I was involved in, like camps and like the older people in like the church community, like I think more connection between them, because I'm not sure that they really are aware of like summer camps, and like that's where the connections start, really.
With young people you're talking about.
Yeah, but especially like just in Community of Christ, they always emphasize on the fact that those are your lifelong friends. That's what my parents always told me, and they are still best friends with all of their friends from camp. And
Okay.
I think I have
Are
found,
you still connected with a lot of your friends from camp?
yeah,
Okay.
which is
Some of them here?
one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but I found a lot of similar traits in people that were a part of Community of Christ, but from the States, obviously.
Okay.
There's a different type of connection between us. And I wish that people that didn't know as much about like the camps, like older people that may not have gone, like I wish they knew like how important they were. Maybe they want to support them a bit more.
I think camps are just an incredible experience for young people. And we have family camps. We have reunions. Did you go to reunions? Or
when I was very little.
Okay.
And then I did go right before COVID hit, like that last summer. I did go and I was like, oh, I'd love to go back. And then of course COVID hit. But
there's part of me that just doesn't want to acknowledge COVID, the pandemic.
Yeah.
And yet it has changed how we operate so much. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to sit down with President Veazey, Steve Veazey of Community of Christ, or any of the general church leaders or anything like that. Is there anything you would tell them if you could tell them something specific about either about your experience or about what you wish for the church?
I have a big appreciation for the openness of Community of Christ.
Okay.
I know it's probably different in all congregations, but there are similarities between Graceland and what I've heard at like Afterglow and the services here and services at home, looking at like gay rights, trans rights, like everything like that. I think has been a big part of my life.
My understanding about Canada is that you were ahead of the United States in gay rights, trans rights, those kinds of things. And now we're seeing even a little bit of a backlash here in the United States. It's tough to sort of analyze, but yeah. Okay. Well, Jocelyn, thank you for joining me today. I guess this basically wraps things up for this episode of Coffee in the Swarm. Thanks for listening. This is Mike Hoffman signing off until next time. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Jocelyn.
It was fun.
Thanks for listening to Project Zion Podcast. Project Zion Podcast is a ministry of Community of Christ. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are of those speaking and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Community of Christ. The music has been graciously provided by Dave Hines.